The police entered St. Bridget's basement at 12:51 in the morning. By 1:07, Marcus Vale was sitting in a folding chair beneath a crucifix, speaking to 3 attorneys through a phone held by someone else. That was the difference between ordinary people and billionaires. Ordinary people called one lawyer after the police arrived. Men like Marcus had lawyers arrive before the questions began. Red and blue light moved across the basement windows. Officers photographed the overturned chairs, the broken lock, the blood on Cameron's lip, and the metal ledger now sealed inside a clear evidence bag. Marcus said very little. He did not resist. He did not threaten anyone. He simply sat with one ankle resting over his knee, looking more inconvenienced than afraid. The 2 men who had been holding Cameron claimed they were private security contractors responding to a report of stolen company property. Cameron called that a lie. Marcus called it a misunderstanding. Jonathan called it obstruction. The police called it complicated. Complicated was the word people used when money made the truth expensive. I stood beside Cameron near the church kitchen while a paramedic examined the cut inside his mouth. "You need stitches?" I asked. "No, you are bleeding. I have had worse." "You already said that." "It remains true." His attempt at humor did not hide the anger in his eyes. Cameron had spent years representing tenants, injured workers, and families who signed papers they did not understand because the alternative was losing everything. He knew what powerful companies did. But knowing was different from seeing Marcus Vale place one hand on a ledger and behave as if history belonged to him. "What happened before we arrived?" I asked. Cameron glanced toward the officers. "I came back after the meeting because Mrs. Delgado thought she left her reading glasses." "Did she?" "No. She had them in her purse." Despite everything, I almost smiled. "I found the basement door open," he continued. "The office had been searched. The filing cabinet was moved away from the wall. And the ledger was behind it. Inside an old heating vent. Who put it there? I do not know. Did you open it?" "Only the first few pages." "What did you see?" "Payments. Names. Medical claims. Money going through charities, consulting firms, labor organizations." His voice lowered. One page listed judges. My stomach tightened. Judges? Not necessarily payments to judges. Could have been campaign contributions. Event tickets. Legal retainers. But you think it was more than that. I think someone kept a handwritten record because they did not trust the official one. Across the basement, Jonathan spoke quietly with the detective. He still held the plastic evidence bag containing his cracked wristwatch. His father's name had been written on the final page of the ledger. Michael Cross. Destination, Calder Facility, North Lake. Status, alive. 15 years earlier, Jonathan had been told his father was dead. Now one handwritten word had placed a question mark over the grave. Alive. I could not stop looking at him. Jonathan did not appear broken. Men like him learned early not to break where anyone could see. But the control around him had changed. Usually, he seemed to contain a force that other people respected. Now he looked like someone holding a door closed while something enormous pushed from the other side. The detective beside him turned toward Marcus. "Mr. Vale, we will need you to come downtown." One of Marcus's attorneys stepped forward. "My client has not been charged. He was present at the scene of a reported break-in. He responded to a corporate theft. This is a church. The ledger contains proprietary company information." Cameron moved away from the paramedic. "It contains evidence of worker coercion and an unreported death." The attorney did not look at him. "According to whom?" "According to the man your client ordered restrained." "I ordered no one restrained," Marcus said. It was the first time he had spoken in several minutes. He rose from the folding chair and buttoned his suit jacket. The basement seemed to reorganize around him. Marcus was not as physically imposing as Jonathan. He did not need to be. He used calmness differently. Jonathan's calm made people listen. Marcus's calm made people doubt what they had seen. He looked at Cameron. You entered a restricted storage area and removed confidential records. I entered a church basement. You accessed materials belonging to Cross Meridian. The ledger was hidden behind a wall. Ownership does not disappear because something is hidden. Cameron's mouth hardened. Neither does a crime. Marcus's eyes moved to me. Then to Jonathan. You should explain to your employee what happens when she shares confidential information with outside counsel. Cameron is not my counsel, I said. Not yet. He is a community legal aid attorney, which makes his presence even more useful. Jonathan stepped between us. Stop speaking to her. Marcus looked almost amused. You cannot protect her from every consequence. I am not protecting her from consequences. What are you protecting her from? Jonathan's voice lowered. You. The basement went quiet. Not completely. Police radios still crackled. The old furnace still breathed through the walls. But every person nearby felt the shift. Marcus studied the man he had helped build an empire with. You always needed an enemy, he said. Someone to blame for the parts of yourself you did not want to examine. This is not about me. It is always about you. Marcus pointed toward the evidence bag containing the ledger. You think finding Michael's name turns you into a victim? Jonathan became still. No good. Marcus's mask slipped. Not much. Just enough for bitterness to show. Because your father was not innocent. The sentence struck Jonathan harder than a shout would have. What did he do? I asked. Marcus ignored me. Jonathan did not. Answer her. Marcus smiled faintly. You still do not understand what she represents. She represents a question you cannot control. She represents leverage. My skin prickled. Against whom? I asked. Against Jonathan. That assumes he cares what happens to me. Marcus looked at Jonathan. For the first time, Jonathan looked away. Only for a second. But Marcus saw it. So did I. Something cold settled in Marcus's expression. There it is, he said. Jonathan's eyes returned to him. Enough. No. Not enough. 6 days ago, she was an analyst whose name you did not know. Now you are standing in a church basement after midnight, risking the board, the company, and your family's name. My family's name is already inside that ledger. And hers is inside the settlement file. Marcus turned to me. Do you believe that is a coincidence, Evelyn? My body tightened at the sound of my first name in his mouth. Do not call me that. He continued as if I had not spoken. Your father's claim. Jonathan's father. Samuel Ortega. South Harbor. The same neighborhood. The same church. And then you arrive inside Cross Meridian with perfect credentials and an interest in the exact project capable of reopening everything. I did not know any of this. Perhaps. You investigated me. I reviewed a potential risk. You photographed my niece. His expression remained flat. An investigator documented the residence. There was a 6-year-old child in the photograph. Then the investigator should have exercised better judgment. It was not an apology. It was not even regret. Lily had been reduced to an operational error. I took one step toward him. Jonathan's hand moved between us without touching me. Not holding me back. Reminding me that Marcus wanted a reaction. Marcus noticed. You see? He said quietly. You are already teaching her your rules. Jonathan's jaw tightened. No. She is teaching me where mine failed. For the first time, Marcus had no immediate answer. The detective approached again. Mr. Vale, downtown? Now. Marcus looked toward his attorneys. They nodded. He walked toward the stairs. When he reached Jonathan, he stopped. You read one word in a book and believe your father survived. Jonathan did not respond. Marcus leaned closer. Ask yourself why Thomas Brennan wrote alive instead of free. Then he continued up the stairs. The words remained behind. Alive. Not free. At 2:16 in the morning, The police released Cameron after taking his statement. They did not arrest Marcus. Not formally. His attorneys argued that he had entered the church after receiving notice of stolen corporate property. The two private contractors claimed Cameron resisted when asked to surrender the ledger. No one believed them. Belief was not enough. The ledger went into evidence. So did the cracked watch. So did the photographs found inside the abandoned SUV. Jonathan's legal team obtained a written receipt listing every item. He read it twice. Then gave it to me. Why are you giving this to me? Because you will notice if something changes. What makes you think you will not? I might notice too late. It was the first time he had admitted that possibility. Outside, the rain had returned. Cameron stood beneath the church awning with an ice pack pressed against his mouth. Police lights reflected across the wet street. I am taking you home, he said. Jonathan stood beside me. No. Cameron looked at him. I was speaking to Evie. I know. Then let her answer. They turned toward me. Two men. Two different worlds. Cameron had known me since I was 13. He had helped me study for the SAT while working evenings at his uncle's grocery store. He had driven Hannah to the hospital when Lily was born because Ryan's truck would not start. Jonathan had known me for 6 days. But in those 6 days, he had placed his company between my family and eviction. He had uncovered a 15-year-old settlement fraud. He had followed a surveillance contractor into a hospital. And he had just learned that the father he buried might not have died when he believed. I am going back to Mercy South, I said. Cameron lowered the ice pack. I will drive. You need to have your mouth checked. It is fine. It is still bleeding. Jonathan looked at the injury. You should go to the emergency room. Cameron gave a humorless laugh. Not everyone owns part of the hospital. Jonathan accepted the remark. No. The answer removed some of Cameron's anger. Not all of it. Come with us, I told him. They can examine you there. Cameron looked toward Jonathan's sedan. I am not getting into his car. You were just held against a filing cabinet by two private contractors. I still have standards. Despite the cold and fear, I smiled. It disappeared quickly. Cameron's expression softened. You should not be alone with this, he said. I am not. His eyes moved toward Jonathan. That is what worries me. Jonathan heard him. Of course he did. He said nothing. At 2:38, I sat in the back of Jonathan's sedan while Chicago moved past the dark windows. Cameron followed in his own car. The cracked watch was gone. The ledger was gone. The only evidence we had left was a photograph of its final page stored on my phone. I had taken it before the police sealed the book. I had not told anyone. Not Jonathan. Not Cameron. Not my father. I could not explain why. Maybe because every official record we had found had been altered. Maybe because Thomas Brennan had hidden the ledger inside a church instead of trusting the police. Maybe because 6 days inside Cross Meridian had taught me that information became dangerous the moment only one person controlled it. Jonathan sat beside me. Lila occupied the front passenger seat, speaking quietly into her phone. She had arrived at the church shortly before we left. Her auburn hair was still pinned neatly, but the collar of her coat was crooked. I had never seen anything about Lila Morgan out of place before. Outside counsel has secured the archive, she said. All access certificates are frozen. Including mine? Jonathan asked. Yes. He nodded. No offense. No protest. Victoria? She has requested an emergency board session at 8. Location? Cross Meridian Tower. No remote attendance. Marcus's attorneys will object. They can object in person. Lila ended the call. I studied her reflection in the window. Jonathan had said only 2 people could control the dormant certificate used to authorize surveillance. Him. And Lila. She had warned us to leave the house. She had revoked Jonathan's credentials before another location signal could be sent. but she had also known exactly how the system worked. Trust was not evidence. Jonathan's own words. Lila looked back at me. You have a question. How long have you worked for him? 13 years. Did you know Marcus before that? Yes. How? I worked in the legal department. At Cross Meridian? At Vale Logistics. Jonathan turned toward her. You never told me that. Lila's expression did not change. It was on my resume. I hired you through executive search. You still received my resume. When did you work for Marcus? 17 years ago. For 11 months. The car became quieter. What did you do? I asked. Document management. Settlement files? Sometimes. South Shore fabrication? Lila looked out the windshield. I processed part of the acquisition archive. Jonathan's voice became very still. You told me you had never seen the Ortega file. I had not seen the digital version. That was not the question. No. The answer carried weight. She had learned from him too. Or perhaps she had always known how to survive powerful men. What did you see? I asked. Lila turned fully toward us. A paper file with Samuel Ortega's name. Jonathan's jaw tightened. What was inside? A medical transport form. A clinic intake sheet. And a waiver signed by someone claiming to be his brother. Samuel did not have a brother, I said. Lila looked at me. How do you know? My father worked beside him for 11 years. Then the waiver was false. What clinic? Jonathan asked. The name was Calder Occupational Recovery. North Lake? I do not remember the location. Do you remember the patient status? Lila hesitated. Yes. What was it? Critical but stable. My stomach tightened. Samuel had survived the plant accident. At least initially. What happened to the file? Jonathan asked. Marcus removed it. You saw him? Yes. And you said nothing? I was 26 years old. Temporary legal staff. Marcus Vale was already a partner in the company. You knew the file disappeared. I knew it was no longer in the box. You knew an injured worker had been transferred to a private clinic and erased from the settlement archive. I suspected it. Jonathan stared at her. The betrayal was different from Marcus's. Marcus had stood beside him as an equal. Lila had spent 13 years guarding his office, his schedule, and the edges of his private life. She knew when he had not eaten. She knew when he had not slept. She knew which board members lied badly and which ones lied well. Jonathan trusted her with access no one else possessed. You could have told me, he said. No. The answer surprised all of us. You could have, he repeated. I could have spoken. That is not the same as being heard. He went still. Lila continued. 17 years ago, you were not the man sitting in this car. You did not know me. I knew your reputation. Which was? That you protected Marcus because he had protected you. Jonathan looked away. Lila's voice softened slightly. People did try to warn you. The words did not accuse. That made them worse. Who? He asked. Thomas Brennan. 2 union attorneys. A hospital administrator. Your first chief financial officer. Harold Stein? Yes. He resigned because of a compensation dispute. That was the official explanation. Jonathan's face became pale. What was the real one? He questioned payments routed through Calder. Why did no one show me? Marcus controlled what reached your office. And you later became the person controlling what reached my office. Yes. Why? Lila's eyes met his in the rearview mirror. So it could not happen again. The answer hung inside the car. Jonathan studied her. Did you authorize the surveillance? No. Did you know the certificate could be used? Not until yesterday. Can you prove that? Yes. How? I preserved every access log outside the Cross Meridian network. A flicker of surprise crossed his face. For how long? 11 years. Jonathan almost smiled. Not because anything was funny. Because Lila had answered betrayal with preparation. That is unauthorized, he said. Yes. Potentially illegal. Yes. Good. For the first time that night, some of the tension inside the car changed shape. Lila turned toward me. You were right to question me. I did not say I was. You did not need to. Mercy South appeared ahead, its emergency entrance glowing against the wet darkness. My mother was asleep when I entered her room. Hannah sat curled in a chair beside the bed, her coat folded beneath her head. She woke when I touched her shoulder. What time is it? Almost 3. Where have you been? At St. Bridget's. Her eyes sharpened. Cameron called. He said there was trouble. He is downstairs getting his lip checked. What happened? I looked toward Mom. Not here. Hannah studied my face. Then the hallway. Is Jonathan Cross outside? Yes. You brought him back? He brought me. That is not better. I know. Mom stirred beneath the blanket. Her eyes opened slowly. Evie? I moved to the bed. I am here. You went home? Yes. Did your father tell you? He told us about the safety clearance. Her face tightened. And the watch? Yes. Mom closed her eyes. He kept that thing all these years. Thomas Brennan kept it. Dad hid it later. She looked toward the door. Is Jonathan here? Yes. Fear moved across her face. Not anger. Fear. Do not let him speak to your father alone. Why? Because your father will blame him. Should he? She looked at me for a long moment. Not for everything. The answer pulled me closer. Mom, you said Jonathan came to the house before the accident. Yes. He warned Dad to close the east line. Yes. Dad did. Someone restarted it. Her eyes moved toward Hannah. My sister stood now, fully awake. What are you not telling us? Hannah asked. Mom pressed her fingers against the hospital blanket. Your father did not refuse Jonathan's warning. We know. He tried to prove the replacement valve had never arrived. How? He went to the loading office. What did he find? A duplicate shipping manifest. I leaned closer. Where is it? I do not know. Did Dad keep it? No, who did he give it to? She swallowed. Michael Cross. Jonathan's father. The missing man? Hannah looked toward the hallway. Why would Dad give it to him? Because Michael was the dockworkers' union contact for shipments entering South Shore Fabrication. Jonathan's public biography described his father as a dockworker who died in an industrial accident. Not a union contact. Not someone involved in secret cargo. What did the manifest show? I asked. Replacement valves had been billed to the plant. But the crates contained something else. What? I never saw it. Did Dad? Yes. What was inside? Mom's voice dropped. Medical devices. The answer did not fit. Medical devices? Prototype components. Unregistered. Experimental. Cross Meridian's medical technology division had not existed 15 years ago. At least not publicly. Who manufactured them? Your father said the crates carried government inventory codes. Hannah crossed her arms. Why would government medical equipment be hidden inside an industrial plant? Mom shook her head. I do not know. What did Michael do with the manifest? He said he would take it to Jonathan. Did he? I do not know. Thomas Brennan's note returned to me. The accident was not where it started. Marcus knows the first number. Jonathan was never told the last one. The first number might have been a government contract. The last number might have been the number of injured workers. Or the number of hidden patients. Mom, what happened the night after the accident? She closed her eyes again. Your father came home after midnight. His clothes smelled like smoke and disinfectant. He was in the hospital. He left. Why? Michael called him. From where? I do not know. What did he say? Her voice trembled. He said Jonathan had found Samuel. My skin went cold. Jonathan had remembered steam. Blood. A body. But Marcus claimed Samuel survived 11 hours. Maybe Jonathan had not seen Samuel die. Maybe he had found him critically injured and helped move him. What happened next? Your father left the house. He returned near dawn. Was Michael with him? No, Jonathan? No, did Dad say where they went? He told me never to ask. That did not stop you. No, what did you learn? Mom looked at me. Her face had become gray with exhaustion. There were more people at Calder than Samuel. How many? I do not know. Workers from South Shore? No, then who? She looked toward the door again. Patients. The word settled heavily inside the room. What kind of patients? People connected to the devices. Hannah stared at her. You mean clinical testing? I mean your father saw hospital beds inside a facility that did not officially exist. The machines beside Mom continued their steady rhythm. A pulse. A breath. Another pulse. Cross Meridian now owned hospitals and medical technology companies. But 15 years earlier, hidden medical devices had passed through an industrial plant connected to Jonathan's first government contract. A private clinic had received Samuel Ortega. Michael Cross had taken the shipping manifest. Then both men disappeared. Why did Dad never tell us? I asked. Because he was threatened. By Marcus? He never said. What was the threat? Mom looked toward Hannah. Then back to me. They sent him a photograph of you walking home from school. I stopped breathing. I had been 9. The same age as the child who drew a purple sun. Someone had watched me. The way they had watched Lily. 15 years apart. Same method. Same message. Your family is visible. Your silence keeps them safe. Hannah covered her mouth. Did Dad keep the photograph? Mom nodded. In the metal box beneath the garage floor. I stared at her. We searched the garage tonight. Not the cabinet. The floor. Before I could ask more, a nurse entered. Mrs. Hart needs to rest. Mom had already closed her eyes. This time, I did not push. Her body was telling the truth even when her words did not. She was tired. Her blood pressure had dropped. Her kidneys were struggling. And our family had spent 15 years allowing fear to consume her health one secret at a time. I stepped into the hallway. Jonathan stood near the window with both hands in his coat pockets. Cameron sat several chairs away holding a small packet of gauze against his lip. Lila spoke to someone at the nurse's station. Jonathan looked at my face. What did she tell you? Your father received a duplicate shipping manifest from mine. His entire body stilled. What was on it? Prototype medical devices hidden inside replacement valve crates. Manufactured by whom? She never saw. Government inventory? Yes. He looked toward the dark parking lot beyond the window. My first government contract was not medical. What was it? Port security tracking. Tracking cargo? Containers. Trucks. Personnel. And Marcus managed it. Yes. The answer no longer surprised me. Cameron stood. What does this have to do with medical devices? Jonathan looked at him. The tracking technology relied on biometric sensors. What kind? Early pulse, temperature, movement, and identity verification. That sounds like wearable technology. It was. Supposed to be. Supposed to be? The contract failed. Why? Jonathan's jaw tightened. The sensors produced unreliable readings in field tests. Were human subjects involved? Volunteers. Military? Some. Civilians? I was told no. The phrase had become a wound. I was told. Marcus told me. the report said. The files confirmed. Every layer of Jonathan's empire had been built through information someone else had selected. What if Calder was testing the sensors? I asked. Then the contract did not fail. It moved underground, Cameron said. Jonathan looked toward him. And Samuel saw the equipment. Or the patients, I said. Lila approached us. The board meeting has been moved to 7. Jonathan checked the time. 3:21 a.m. Why? Victoria says the press received an anonymous package. What was inside? Photographs of you entering the Hart residence. My stomach dropped. Lila continued. Also copies of Evelyn's employee file and part of the South Harbor suspension order. Cameron swore. What is the story? Jonathan asked. That an entry-level analyst concealed the financial interest in the redevelopment zone and persuaded the chief executive officer to intervene. Jonathan's expression went cold. Persuaded how? Lila hesitated. I already knew. There were only so many ways the press framed a 24-year-old woman standing beside a powerful older man. Say it. I told her. The package implies an inappropriate personal relationship. Hannah had entered the hallway behind me. She heard every word. Her eyes moved from me to Jonathan. Then back. There is no relationship, I said. Lila's face remained neutral. The truth may not control the first news cycle. Jonathan removed his phone. Contact communications. I already did. Tell them no comment on Evelyn's private life. There is no private life to comment on, I said. That will not matter. It matters to me. Jonathan looked at me. I know. Then say the allegation is false. It is. Publicly. His hesitation lasted less than a second. But I saw it. The pain came before reason. Not because I wanted him to claim me. Not because I expected a declaration. Because 1 second of hesitation made me feel exactly what Marcus had wanted me to feel. Useful in private. Dangerous in public. Jonathan saw the change in my face. That is not why I paused. Then why? Because any statement I make about you becomes a headline. The headline already exists. Yes. And silence helps me? No, then what are you protecting? His voice lowered. Your career. I almost laughed. My manager filed a complaint against me. The board is accusing me of manipulating you. Someone followed me to my mother's hospital room. What career are you protecting? The one you earned before you met me. The answer stopped me. He continued. If I publicly center myself in this, every achievement attached to your name will be rewritten as access to mine. And if you remain silent? They will still try. Then let me decide which damage I prefer. His eyes held mine. You are right. He turned to Lila. Prepare a statement. Evelyn Hart disclosed her family's property interest as soon as it became known. The South Harbor suspension was based on verified modeling irregularities and authorized by me alone. Lila nodded. Jonathan continued. State that no personal relationship influenced the decision. The words were correct. Necessary. Still, something inside me tightened. No personal relationship. 6 days ago, there had been none. Now I knew how he took his tea. He knew my mother's diagnosis. I had watched his hand tremble over a cracked watch. He had stood inside my family's garage and remembered blood from a night his mind had erased. There was no romantic relationship. But nothing between us felt impersonal anymore. Cameron watched my face. I looked away. At 4:05, the police called Jonathan. The ledger could not be authenticated. Not yet. The handwriting varied across several sections. Some entries appeared 15 years old. Others had been added recently. The final page containing Michael Cross and Samuel Ortega had been written in ink less than 7 years old. Someone had updated it long after the accident. Does that make it false? I asked. No, Cameron said. It means someone continued the record. Or fabricated it. Jonathan replied. He did not allow hope to become evidence, even when the hope concerned his father. Lila handed him another phone. Outside counsel. Jonathan walked toward the end of the hall. I sat beside Cameron. He looked exhausted. You should go home, I said. So should you. My mother is here. And Jonathan? What about him? He has a board meeting in 3 hours. He is not my responsibility. Cameron looked toward the window. No. But you are beginning to feel responsible for what happens to him. That is not true. Evie. Do not. I have known you for 11 years. And? You look at problems like they are equations. You find the missing variable. You move everything around until the answer makes sense. That is generally how equations work. People are not equations. I know. Do you? His voice softened. Jonathan Cross is 49 years old. He owns part of the hospital where your mother is sleeping. He controls the company threatening your house. He can change your job, your neighborhood, and your family's future with one phone call. You think I do not understand that? I think understanding power and feeling its effect are different things. I am not impressed by his money. I did not say you were. Then what are you saying? Cameron looked at me. That being seen by a powerful person can feel like power. The words landed deeper than I wanted. Jonathan had listened when Martin dismissed me. He had verified my work. He had given me authority no one else would have given a 24-year-old analyst. He had looked at me as if my questions mattered. Was that respect? Or was it only the reflected light of his attention? I am not asking him for anything, I said. You do not have to. Cameron looked toward Jonathan. He is already changing the room every time you enter it. I turned away. You sound jealous. I am. The honesty stunned me. Cameron gave a tired laugh. I did not plan to say that in a hospital hallway with a split lip. You should not have said it at all. Probably. This is not the time. I know. My mother is sick. I know. My family's house is threatened. I know. Someone may have hidden injured test subjects in a private facility. I know. And you choose now? No. His hazel eyes met mine. I chose years ago. I just never said it. The hallway became too small. I cannot do this. I am not asking you to. You just did. I am asking you not to confuse danger with depth. Anger flashed through me. You think Jonathan is using me. I think he may not know the difference between needing someone and loving them. The word felt too large. Love has nothing to do with this. Good. Cameron stood. Then be careful when he starts acting like it does. He left before I could answer. I sat alone beneath the fluorescent lights. Across the hall, Jonathan ended his call. His eyes followed Cameron toward the elevator. Then moved to me. What did he want? That is none of your business. Jonathan became still. You are right. Again. No argument. Why did that make me angrier? Maybe because control was easier to resist when it pushed. Jonathan's restraint left me alone with my own choices. At 4:42, my father arrived. Ryan drove him from the house. Dad carried a flat metal case wrapped inside a trash bag. He looked toward Jonathan. Then toward me. Your mother awake? No. He nodded. We found the compartment. The four of us moved into an empty family consultation room. Lila closed the door. Dad placed the metal case on the table. The lock had been cut. Inside lay 3 items. A photograph. A folded shipping manifest. And a small black device the size of a matchbox. I recognized the photograph first. 9-year-old me walking home from school. My backpack hung from both shoulders. My hair was braided. I was looking down at something in my hand. Probably a library book. The image had been taken from across the street. On the back, someone had written, "The next accident will not be at the plant." Hannah inhaled sharply. Dad looked at the floor. I received it 2 days after the crash. Jonathan picked up the shipping manifest. The paper had yellowed at the folds. South Shore Fabrication. October 4th. 12 days before the accident. Shipment contents listed replacement pressure valves, seals, and control assemblies. A second handwritten list appeared beneath it. 12 biometric relay modules. 24 dermal sensor arrays. 6 neuroresponse processors. Cameron had called the technology wearable. These components sounded more invasive. Jonathan read the inventory numbers. His face changed. You recognize them? I said. Yes. From the government contract? From the cancelled portion of it. What were they for? He looked toward my father. Measuring neurological response under stress. Stress? Hannah asked. Temperature extremes. Sleep deprivation. High noise environments. Human testing, I said. Controlled testing. Was it controlled? I do not know. The answer sounded like an accusation against himself. Dad pointed to the small black device. Michael gave me that the night after the accident. Jonathan reached for it. Then stopped. He looked at my father. What is it? He called it a relay key. For the sensors? Yes. Why did he give it to you? He said it could open the Calder files. Digital files? I do not know. Jonathan picked it up carefully. The device had no screen. Only one recessed port and a faded serial number. NLR 24. The last number again. Michael told me to keep it away from Marcus, Dad said. Where was he when he gave it to you? Near the Calumet River. An abandoned loading yard. Was Samuel with him? No. Was he injured? Michael? Yes. He had blood on his coat. Jonathan's breathing changed. His blood? I asked. He said no. Did he tell you where Samuel was? At Calder. Alive? Yes. Why did Michael not bring him to a hospital? He said the hospital had people waiting. Whose people? He did not say. What happened after he gave you the device? Dad looked at Jonathan. He told me to take my family and leave Chicago. You did not. We had no money. I could have helped. You were in the hospital. The car crash. Jonathan stared at the relay key. Did my father know about the crash? No. It happened after I saw him. Where did he go? He said he was returning to North Lake. To get Samuel? To get everyone. The room became silent. Everyone. Not one worker. Not one hidden patient. A group. How many patients were there? I asked. Dad shook his head. He said, 24 beds. The serial number. NLR 24. 24 dermal sensor arrays. 24 beds. The last number might not have been a death count. It might have been a patient count. Jonathan turned toward me. The original government program had 24 civilian test volunteers. My skin chilled. What happened to them? The contractor reported the trial was cancelled before enrollment. Which contractor? Jonathan looked down at the manifest. Vale Biomedical Systems. Marcus's company. Cross Meridian did not own a biomedical company then. I said. No, Marcus did? Privately. I believed it had failed. Dad gave a bitter laugh. Failure appears to be a useful word in your world. Jonathan accepted it. The black device remained in his palm. Can it still work? Hannah asked. Possibly. Can Lila examine it? Jonathan looked at her. Lila did not touch the device. Not on any company system. Outside lab? I asked. Too slow, Jonathan said. Then where? He looked toward the window. There is someone I trust. Lila's eyes sharpened. Who? Dr. Naomi Reed. The name meant nothing to me. It meant something to Lila. She disappeared from public work 9 years ago. She left Cross Medical after accusing Marcus of falsifying trial data. Where is she now? Evanston. Will she speak to you? Jonathan looked at the device. I do not know. At 5:26, a nurse entered the consultation room. Evelyn? I stood. Your mother's physician would like to speak with the family. The doctor waited beside Mom's bed. Her name was Dr. Patel. She had kind eyes and the tired posture of someone nearing the end of a long shift. Margaret's kidney function has declined since her last panel, she said. Not dramatically, but enough to concern us. How bad? I asked. She is not in immediate danger, but she needs a renal imaging study and a medication adjustment. Mom looked toward the ceiling. The imaging was denied. Dr. Patel's mouth tightened. I know. Jonathan stood near the back of the room. Dr. Patel recognized him. The recognition made her straighten. Not with admiration. With caution. The prior authorization should have been approved, she said. Why was it not? Jonathan asked. This is a family medical discussion. I own part of the parent network. That does not make you part of the family. The sentence surprised everyone. Jonathan nodded. You are right. Dr. Patel looked at me. Would you like him to remain? Every eye moved toward me. My father's. Hannah's. Jonathan's. Even Mom's. This was not a boardroom. Jonathan's name did not decide the room. I did. He can stay, I said. Something changed in his face. Small. Quiet. Dr. Patel continued. The insurer uses a utilization review vendor. The algorithm classified the imaging as non-urgent because Margaret's prior test results were incomplete. They were incomplete because the earlier lab was out of network. Hannah said. Yes. So one insurance problem created another, I replied. Essentially. Jonathan's jaw tightened. Which vendor? Dr. Patel hesitated. Meridian Health Analytics. Cross Meridian. Of course. Jonathan looked toward Lila. She was already taking notes. Mom saw them. No. Everyone turned to her. I do not want special treatment. Mom, I said. I mean it. Jonathan moved closer but remained at the foot of the bed. Mrs. Hart, the review should not have been denied. You know that because I am Evelyn's mother. I know it because your physician says the study is medically necessary. Would you be standing here if I were not her mother? Jonathan said nothing. Mom's tired eyes remained on him. That is the problem. My father looked at her. Margaret. No. He needs to hear it. She looked back at Jonathan. You can make one call and fix my scan. Then you can leave believing you helped. Her voice was weak. The words were not. But another woman will receive the same denial tomorrow. She may not have a daughter who enters the wrong elevator. The room became completely still. Jonathan looked at her. Not as a patient. Not as my mother. As a person who had placed the truth in front of him and refused to soften it. What would you have me do? He asked. Mom closed her eyes briefly. Do not fix me because you care what Evelyn thinks. She opened them again. Fix the reason people like me need to know men like you. The words reached somewhere inside him. I saw it. Jonathan had built systems because he believed systems were stronger than people. Now every system around him was revealing the same flaw. The people at the bottom carried the consequences. The people at the top received summaries. He looked toward Dr. Patel. Order the imaging. Mom's expression tightened. Jonathan continued before she could object. Not as an exception. Document the denial and appeal outcome. Lila will initiate an independent review of every renal imaging denial produced by the same model. Lila nodded. How far back? She asked. 12 months. That could be thousands of cases. Yes. Mom studied him. Will you still do that after you leave this room? Jonathan looked at her. Yes. How do I know? You do not. The answer was the right one. Trust was not evidence. Mom nodded once. Then show me later. At 6:10, Jonathan left for the board meeting. Before he did, he handed the relay key to Lila inside a sealed medical specimen bag. Take it to Naomi Reed. You are not coming? Lila asked. I need to face the board. You have not slept. Neither have you. I am not the chief executive officer. Today, that may be an advantage. He turned toward me. You should remain here. I almost argued. Then I looked at my mother. I will. Do not access the company network. I know. Do not respond to reporters. I know. And do not leave the hospital alone. My patience broke. You are doing it again. His expression changed. Doing what? Turning concern into instructions. He glanced toward my family. Then back to me. You are right. The answer came more slowly this time. I am asking you not to leave alone. Better. Will you? I do not know. He almost smiled. That is fair. He walked toward the elevator. Jonathan. He stopped. The use of his first name changed the space between us. I had said it before, but never like that. Never when I was asking him to turn around. Your father may still be alive, I said. His face became unreadable. I know. You do not have to solve that before the board meeting. Yes, I do. Why? Because if I allow myself to believe it before I know, Marcus controls me. He looked toward the sealed bag in Lila's hand. And he has already controlled enough. The elevator doors closed behind him. At 7:04, Cross Meridian Group issued a public statement. The South Harbor suspension was based on verified financial modeling irregularities. I had disclosed my family's property interest immediately. No personal relationship had influenced Jonathan's decision. The statement should have protected me. Instead, the headlines appeared within minutes. Young analyst at center of Cross Meridian Power struggle. Billionaire CEO defends 24-year-old employee. Who is Evelyn Hart? One website used my college graduation photograph. Another posted the address of our house. A third described me as striking, before mentioning my academic record. My appearance came before my work. My age came before my evidence. My family's poverty became background decoration. Marcus had not needed to prove I manipulated Jonathan. He only needed to make the idea entertaining. Hannah sat beside me in the hospital cafeteria. Do not read the comments, she said. I am not. You are holding the phone 2 inches from your face. I am documenting them. You are reading them. One comment called me a gold digger. Another suggested I had entered the executive elevator intentionally. A third said a woman like me did not rise that quickly without offering something. I turned off the screen. For 5 days I had been Evelyn Hart, summa cum laude, risk analyst, daughter, sister, aunt. One photograph beside a billionaire had reduced me to a rumor. I cannot go back there, I said. Hannah looked at me. To the company? Yes. You love the work. I loved believing the work mattered. It does. Not if every number I find becomes a story about who I slept with. Did you? I stared at her. She raised both hands. I know the answer. I wanted you to hear how ridiculous the question sounds. It does not sound ridiculous to them. Them does not live your life. The board can fire me. The board may fire Jonathan. That does not help. No. Hannah stirred powdered creamer into her coffee. Do you care if he loses the company? The question arrived too directly. I care if Marcus wins. That is not what I asked. I have known Jonathan for 6 days. I know. He is my chief executive officer. I know. He is 25 years older than me. I can subtract. I looked toward the cafeteria windows. Morning light had begun to enter the sky. Chicago was waking. Buses ran. Coffee shops opened. People checked phones and read stories about strangers whose lives had become entertainment overnight. I do not know what I feel. I said. Hannah nodded. That is at least honest. I trust him more than I should. Why? Because he admits when the truth makes him look bad. That is a low standard. In my workplace, it appears unusually high. She smiled faintly. Then became serious. Power does not make a bad man good because he uses it for you. I know. And age does not automatically make a relationship wrong. I looked at her. She shrugged. I teach first grade. I spend all day explaining nuance to people who eat paste. I am capable of complicated ideas. There is no relationship. Then stop reacting every time someone says there is. That is not fair. No. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. But neither is what they are doing to you. At 8:13, Lila called. I answered immediately. Is the board meeting over? No. Her voice was tense. What happened? Jonathan presented the 82% modeling pattern, the surveillance authorization, and the altered settlement record. And? Marcus denied direct involvement. Of course. Victoria proposed placing Jonathan on temporary administrative leave. My stomach dropped. Did it pass? Not yet. What are they waiting for? Marcus introduced evidence that Jonathan authorized the original Calder contract 15 years ago. I stood. What evidence? A signed executive memorandum. Is it real? The signature appears authentic. Jonathan said he did not know about Calder. He may have signed without understanding the full program. That is what every executive says. The words came out before I could stop them. Lila was silent. I closed my eyes. I am sorry. Do not be. Does he remember signing? No. What did the memorandum authorize? Transfer of civilian volunteers into a private recovery protocol after adverse sensor events. My stomach turned. Recovery protocol. Yes. Calder. Yes. Jonathan's signature had created the legal path into the facility. Whether he understood it or not, his name had opened the door. Is he being removed? The board vote begins in 10 minutes. What can we do? Naomi Reed examined the relay key. And? It contains an encrypted storage module. Can she open it? She needs a second key. Where is it? She believes Michael Cross carried it. Jonathan's missing father. The dead man who might be alive. That does not help us today. No. I look toward the hospital elevators. Where is Naomi? Her lab in Evanston. Send me the address. Jonathan told you to remain at the hospital. Jonathan is about to lose control of his company because someone produced a document he does not remember signing. That does not make the relay key relevant. It may contain the Calder records. Without the second key, it is useless. Maybe the second key is not missing. Lila became quiet. What are you thinking? The cracked watch. What about it? Michael gave my father the relay key. Thomas kept Jonathan's watch. Both were found after the same night. You think the watch contains the second key? I think expensive watches do not usually have recessed access points. It was entered into police evidence. Then we need to examine the photographs. Lila understood immediately. I have high-resolution images from the evidence inventory. Send them. My phone chimed seconds later. I opened the photographs. The cracked face. The stained leather band. The engraved initials. JDC. I enlarged the image. Along the lower edge of the case was a tiny circular indentation. Too small for a charging port. Large enough for a contact pin. The relay device had one recessed port. The watch had one recessed contact. Two halves. Call Naomi, I said. She is beside me. A woman's voice came onto the line. Evelyn Hart? Yes. This is Dr. Reed. Her voice was low and precise. Could the watch unlock the relay? Possibly. What do you need? The watch. The police have it. Then we need a court order or consent from the owner. Jonathan owns it. Evidence custody still applies. How long? Too long for the board vote. I stared at the photograph. The watch was engraved JDC Jonathan David Cross. But Thomas had found it after the accident. What if it was not Jonathan's? What was Michael Cross's middle name? I asked. Lila answered. Daniel. Michael Daniel Cross. Not JDC. Jonathan's initials fit. I said. Yes, Naomi replied. But who gave him the watch? Silence. Lila understood first. His father. When? Jonathan's 30th birthday. 15 years earlier, Jonathan had been 34. The watch could have carried technology from Michael. A key disguised as a gift. Can you use the photograph? I asked. Not to access the data. Can you identify the contact pattern? Maybe. How fast? I am looking now. I waited. Hospital sounds moved around me. An elevator opened. A cart rolled past. My mother slept one floor above while the future of a billion-dollar company and the truth about 24 hidden patients depended on a damaged watch inside police evidence. Naomi spoke again. The contact pattern is not standard. What does that mean? It was custom-built. For the relay? Likely. Can the relay operate without physical contact? Possibly through near-field transmission. So it does not need the watch in the same room. It would need the encrypted signature. Can you reproduce it from the contact architecture? A pause. In theory. How long? Several hours. The board votes in minutes. Then the board will vote without the truth. I looked toward my mother's room. She had said something only hours earlier. Fix the reason people like me need to know men like you. Jonathan's company did not need another exception. It needed evidence. Send the board what you have, I said. Lila's voice sharpened. We have an unverified theory. Then label it unverified. It will not stop the vote. No. But it will force them to acknowledge the existence of potentially recoverable Calder records. Naomi said nothing. Lila exhaled. Jonathan will hate this. Why? Because the theory depends on his father. He already knows. No. It depends on the possibility that Michael Cross secretly embedded an encryption key inside a gift. What does that change? It means Michael expected Jonathan to need access one day. The implication settled. Michael had not simply disappeared. He had prepared for Jonathan to find the truth. Maybe he had expected his son to come. Maybe he had believed Jonathan would remember. Send it, I said. Lila did. At 8:29, the board began voting on Jonathan's temporary removal. At 8:31, every director received a technical memorandum from Dr. Naomi Reed describing an encrypted Calder storage module and a possible second key embedded in Jonathan's watch. At 8:33, Victoria requested a delay. Marcus opposed it. At 8:34, one independent director changed his vote. At 8:36, another demanded outside forensic review. The motion to remove Jonathan failed by one vote. 1. The same number that had been missing from the settlement count. The same number that separated 23 injured workers from a possible death. The same number that had kept Jonathan inside his company. But the victory lasted less than 3 minutes. At 8:39, Lila called again. What happened? The motion failed. Relief moved through me. Then I heard her breathing. What else? Marcus left the meeting. Where is he going? We do not know. Track his car. His driver says he dismissed him. Phone? Turned off. My skin went cold. North Lake. That is our assumption. Where is Jonathan? On his way to the police evidence unit. For the watch? Yes. Tell him Marcus may be heading to Calder. He knows. Then why is he going for the watch? Lila paused. Because Michael left him the key. That was the emotional answer. Not the strategic one. Jonathan had spent 15 years believing his father died without saying goodbye. Now Michael might have left him a path. No board could matter more than that. I ended the call. My mother's doctor entered the waiting area. The imaging has been approved, she said. Because Jonathan called? No. She looked almost surprised. The utilization review vendor suspended the denial model pending audit. Every open renal imaging appeal is being reconsidered. Thousands of cases. Not one exception. Mom had asked him to show her later. He had started before leaving the hospital. I looked toward her room. Then toward the elevator. Hannah saw the conflict on my face. Go, she said. I cannot leave Mom. I am here. Ryan and Dad? Dad went to get breakfast. Ryan is taking Lily to school. I should stay. Hannah touched my shoulder. You are not leaving because of him. Yes, I am. No. She looked at my phone. You are leaving because a missing man may still be alive and you are the only person who keeps noticing where the numbers do not match. That sounded better. More rational. It was not the entire truth. I went upstairs first. Mom was awake. The scan was approved. I told her. I heard. The denial model has been suspended. She looked toward the window. He did that? Yes. For everyone? For every open renal imaging appeal. Mom's expression softened. Not into gratitude. Into consideration. That is a beginning, she said. I need to leave. To find him? To find the truth. Her tired eyes studied me. Those may become the same thing. I know. Be careful. I will. She reached for my hand. Not only of Marcus. I understood. Jonathan's power was not harmless because he used it with restraint. His pain was not proof of goodness. His willingness to listen did not erase 25 years between us or the fact that my employment depended on his company. But caution did not require blindness. I could see the danger. I could also see the man. At 9:02, Cameron drove me to the Chicago Police Evidence Facility. He did not mention the conversation in the hallway. I did not either. The morning had turned gray and cold. Reporters already waited outside Cross Meridian Tower several blocks away. My photograph appeared on a digital news display above a coffee shop. I looked away. You can still leave the company, Cameron said. I know. You probably should. I know. But you are not going to. No. His hands tightened on the steering wheel. Because of the investigation? Yes. He waited. And Jonathan? I looked through the windshield. I do not know. That answer again. It is the only honest one. He nodded. Pain moved across his face, but he accepted it. At the evidence facility, Jonathan stood beside an attorney near the security desk. He had removed his tie. His hair was no longer perfectly arranged. He looked like a man who had not slept, had nearly lost his company, and had decided exhaustion was irrelevant. His eyes found me. What are you doing here? Helping. You should be with your mother. She told me to go. His expression changed slightly. She is stable? Yes. The imaging? Approved. And the audit? Underway. He nodded. No satisfaction. Only responsibility. The police will release the watch temporarily for supervised examination, he said. How? It belongs to me and is not currently classified as evidence of a charged crime. Marcus was released? Yes. He may be heading to North Lake. I know. Do we know where the facility is? Not exactly. North Lake is a region, not an address. Naomi is tracing the relay frequency. Can she? If the Calder system still exists. And if it does? Jonathan looked toward the secure door. Then when the watch and relay connect, it may answer. An evidence officer brought the watch inside a sealed tray. Naomi had joined us through a secure video connection. Lila stood beside her in the Evanston lab with the relay device connected to a small computer. The officer opened the evidence bag but did not remove the watch. Naomi instructed him to position it near a portable reader. Nothing happened. She adjusted the frequency. Still nothing. Jonathan stared at the cracked face. His father had given him that watch 19 years earlier. He had worn it the night of the accident. Then lost it near the service exit. Thomas Brennan found it. Michael disappeared. Jonathan crashed. 15 years passed. Turn the crown, Naomi said. The officer rotated the small dial. A faint blue light appeared beneath the cracked glass. Jonathan inhaled. The watch was not dead. It had been waiting. At the lab, the relay device activated. 3 small lights appeared. Red, amber, green. The computer screen filled with encrypted characters. Then a map opened. Northern Illinois. A single signal pulsed. Near the Wisconsin border. Lake County. An industrial zone west of Waukegan. Calder Node 24, active. Active. Not abandoned. Not historical. Active. Below the location appeared a list of 24 identification codes. 23 showed no signal. 1 remained green. NOR24MC. Michael Cross. Jonathan gripped the edge of the table. The room disappeared around him. His father's identifier was still transmitting. After 15 years. Alive. Or attached to something that was. A second line appeared beneath it. External access detected. Naomi's voice sharpened. Someone else has entered the system. From where? Jonathan asked. She typed quickly. Local terminal. Calder facility. Marcus. The green signal began flashing. Then a countdown appeared. Data purge, 9:59. 9 minutes and 59 seconds. Someone at North Lake had begun destroying the records. Jonathan looked at me. The grief disappeared from his face. Power returned. Not the cold power of his tower. Something more personal. More dangerous. He reached for his phone. Get me a helicopter. The evidence officer stepped forward. You cannot remove the watch. Jonathan looked at the green signal. My father may be alive. That does not change evidence protocol. No. Jonathan removed his wallet and placed his driver's license on the table. Then come with us. The officer stared at him. You want police escort? I want the watch beside the relay before that countdown reaches 0. Naomi's voice came through the speaker. Jonathan, the data purge may not be the only danger. What else? The Calder Node controls more than files. What does it control? Her face became pale on the screen. Life support telemetry. The 24 beds. The experimental patients. The hidden facility. If someone purged the system, they might not only erase evidence. They might erase the last living witness. The countdown reached 8 minutes. Jonathan looked toward the officer. Decide. The officer reached for his radio. I stood beside Jonathan as alarms began sounding through Naomi's computer. 8 minutes. 1 active signal. 1 missing father. And 1 man already inside the facility. Marcus had spent 15 years controlling what Jonathan knew. Now he was not trying to protect the company. He was trying to make sure the last page could never speak.